Let's dive into the details of what we know so far about the 4 next-generation armored vehicles that are competing against each other to replace the US Army's legacy M2 Bradley. We found an animation showing the inner workings of the Rheinmetall bid. At the end of the video, we have an incredible interview with the Major General in charge of the remote-controlled armored program. I did the research, sifted through all the congressional documents, and consolidated the most interesting parts for you here. I'm Chris Cappy, the average infantryman. This is Task and Gear. The big takeaway here is that no matter which vehicle they go with, the new infantry transport will have nearly twice the firepower as the Bradley. Some are sporting as much as a 50mm autocannon. Just for some frame of reference, here's the old Bradley's 25mm round versus the 50mm. It'll be able to carry a full squad of soldiers instead of having to split them up into separate vehicles. You know how soldiers get with separation anxiety? This vehicle will have the unique ability where you can remotely control it from the safety of base from up to 10 kilometers away. If Google's working remotely, why can't war be from home too? The OMFV will have better protection with lightweight explosive reactive armor. It'll support active and passive protection systems that were unavailable to the limited electrical power of the M2 Bradley. So on February 7, 2020, the US Army announced that they were moving ahead with this next-gen optional manned fighting vehicle program. They had chosen 5 teams to compete against each other for the contract, including Oshkosh, Rheinmetall, BAE Systems, General Dynamics Land Systems, and newcomer Point Blank. Unlike previous attempts, this time around the US Army is going to be footing the bill and paying out as much as $300 million towards the development of this program. So it appears like there might be some confusion out there where some people think that these companies will be creating entirely new infantry fighting vehicles completely from scratch, but actually that's not the case. The plan is for each company to create a new version of their already existing IFV products. Some of them have already seen combat and been fielded in other countries. So the US Army is basically doing a new version of Pimp My Ride, except they have a $300 million budget. This video was made thanks to our partner, Goat Guns. First up is the Oshkosh bid. They partnered with South Korean developers Hanwha to work on improving their existing Redback infantry fighting vehicle, named after the lethal Redback Spider, which they made abundantly clear from their promotional video, some might say overly abundant. It weighs 42 tons, has a max speed of 70 kilometers per hour, can carry 8 soldiers, and fires a 30mm autocannon. This IFV is already in service in the South Korean Army. Nicholas Drummond is a popular military analyst, and he wrote how impressively massive the Redback is, while pointing out that it might be too big. Drummond also points out that there is a concern that putting 3 + 9 soldiers in a single vehicle might be too risky in terms of casualties if this single vehicle is hit. The old quandary of having too many eggs in one basket. The most stacked of these teams appears to be American Rheinmetall, who's partnering with Raytheon, Textron, L3Harris Technologies to improve their Lynx KF 41 variant, which was unveiled in 2018. Their team of partners reads like the New York Yankees all-star starting lineup. Rheinmetall is known for their armor, Raytheon known for their weapon systems, Textron is known for being the only ones to not let me shoot their 6.8mm and NGSW, L3Harris is known for their top quality fire control systems. My money is on this team. The key distinguishing features of the Lynx is that it comes in 2 primary parts, the basic vehicle, then its special mission specific add-on. You can remove the turret, transform this vehicle into an infantry fighting vehicle, to an armored personnel carrier with extra room. This change can be made in the field within 8 hours. I'm assuming the motor pool is run by former NASCAR pit crews. One of the most revolutionary parts of the Lynx, which really stood out to me, is how they were able to cram 9 infantry in the back of this vehicle. A lot of these next generation vehicles, they're using the space in a unique way by putting the commander next to the gunner and separating the turret from the hull. And you can see they have 2 chairs here facing inwards, and that gets them the room that they need for 9 dismounts and 2 crew. You can see the screen in between the commander and the gunner is the FBCB2. This tracks the GPS location of friendly units and where suspected enemy units are located. Now in the back, you can see there's a screen behind one of the soldiers, probably where the squad leader would sit. It was a real-time view of what's going on outside the vehicle. It has a Lance 2.0 turret with 35mm autocannon and airburst features. It can travel at 70 kilometers per hour, and it looks like they took everything they learned from making the modular Puma, and they just made it better here.
I think it looks more like a Puma.
What in Sam hell is a Puma?
It's also interesting to note that the Lynx was actually disqualified in 2019 because they asked the US Army for a 4-week extension to the deadline, but Army Futures Command denied their request because who knows why. Probably some officer over there needed to stay on schedule and had an evaluation coming up. Did anyone else notice all the blue lights in the back of that vehicle? What is this, Club Lynx? BAE Systems is entering their 5th generation CV90. This is the only entry out of all of them to be combat tested and proven in the field of battle as far as I know. In 2007 in Afghanistan, there was a surprise attack where the enemy outnumbered the Norwegian army, who had to use CV-90s to successfully repel the attack, and they eliminated 65 enemy fighters. Of the 3 vehicles that have been hit by IEDs so far, 1 soldier out of all those vehicles was KIA. There's a 35mm cannon which can be upgraded like many of the vehicles to the 50mm in the future when it's ready. There's a lot I like about the CV-90. When you look at the specifications for this vehicle, they place mobility as the #1 priority because they believe if you're going with a tracked vehicle, that's where all the advantages are. It can traverse more terrain than a wheeled vehicle. The electronics in the Mark IV version is insane. There's a visual health display for each component. It looks like a video game. Speaking of video games, these vehicles actually use GPUs and CPUs to interpret all of the data that's coming in. At least now we know where all the RTX 3000 series are going. General Dynamics Land Systems has their Griffin III for the competition. This is based on the British Ajax chassis, which has an awful reputation because it made British soldiers sick and they suffered hearing loss from the noise and vibrations of the vehicle. The British Army is famous for having a hard time with the Ajax, and they might be ditching it now. The Griffin carries 6 soldiers and has 2 crew. It has better armor than the Lynx or the Redback. Last but not least, we have our newcomer, the Miami-based Point Blank, who are kind of a small startup business. I love picturing them test driving their IFV prototype on the Miami beach. Never underestimate an underdog though. So I asked all of you guys on Instagram what you thought would be the best features to add to this new vehicle, and you said, "I'd love to see the Ajax actually be usable. Last I heard it was capped at 20 miles per hour for safety reasons. Having a working AC and heater. Cup holders, that is all. Keep the Bradley exactly how it is, but when I hit a target, it makes the Call of Duty hit marker sound. CV-90 since it's ready now. Should carry enough infantry and should be able to fight. Shouldn't take a genius to figure it out, to be honest. Yeah, it's easy. As long as I can plug my Xbox into the FBCB2 screen, that's all that really matters. Clearly, the Army doesn't need soldier touch points anymore. You can just ask the spare parts community." This program failed 3 times in the past, so what's different now? Congress actually left a clue to that question in their budget document. If you look closely at the end of the first sentence about the first requirement about this vehicle needing to be remote controlled, there's actually a reference number, number 5, which mentions a congressional report, CRS report R45392, and for more information. When I looked up that document, it brought me to the main reason that the Army is pursuing this so strongly now. It says that in 2016, the Russian Army unveiled their Vickers unmanned remote-controlled ground combat vehicle. It's based on the BMP-3. The Russian Military Industrial Committee has approved a plan that would have 30% of the Russian combat power consist of entirely remote-controlled autonomous robotic platforms by 2030. The report also notes that this Vickers is remotely controlled by a distance of up to 10 kilometers. Having a remote-controlled infantry carrier obviously has some advantages like risking less soldiers or adding more dismounts. No one talks about the downsides though, but the obvious question here is, would a person or a computer who is remotely controlling the vehicle make the best decisions since they have zero skin in the game? They're not dealing with their life being risked with the vehicle, so would they make the same decisions if they were actually there? The US Army wants to catch up with the Russians. That's why I believe this program will actually happen this time. In a fascinating interview by John Spencer of the Modern War Institute, he spoke to Major General Kaufman, who's in charge of the next-gen OMFV program, who said, quote, "Everyone has seen the movie Pentagon Wars and is familiar with the challenges with that acquisition. So we said on our team, we need to understand the exact time to set a requirement and not continuously change our mind so this doesn't become a very arduous process." So the officers in charge of replacing the Bradley, they know the history of what their predecessors faced, and they're working to avoid those problems. All of the bids are set to be fitted with these new active protection systems. It fires a missile at the incoming missile to explode them before they ever hit the vehicle. As awesome as that sounds, I'm actually more of a fan of passive systems, which deflect the incoming missiles by jamming them so they never explode anywhere near the vehicle in the first place and they don't endanger anyone standing nearby. How long do we have to wait for this new vehicle? Well, the Major General had something interesting to say about that. It can be intoxicating because you want the future technology and it's so close, and the people telling you the status of their development are so bought in. But you have to be honest and look your peers in the eye and say, look, it's not ready. But some Army programs in the past have kept stringing along, wasting taxpayer money. The plan is to down select from those 5 companies to one single winner in 2027, with the first unit equipped by 2028. I asked you in a recent YouTube poll what you thought, and apparently 67% of you believe that the Lynx is the best option. Hey guys, so I want to tell you about goat guns. They're not like your everyday model that you see out there. These are die-cast mini metal replicas. They actually have some functionality to them. So you can see with the SIG MCX one, you can actually pull back the buttstock, and that's exactly like the real SIG MCX. There's other features here, like you can actually drop the magazine out of there the same way that you do in real life. Put it in and it clicks in, holds there. You can put different attachments on, so this scope comes right off, just like that. You can put it back on. It makes a great gift for somebody that really likes firearms, shares that passion with you. You can pull the charging handle back, and even the little dummy rounds come out too. Christmas, the holidays is coming up. This makes a great gift for your dad, whoever likes firearms in your family or friends. I found that they added a lot of personality to my desk and my shelf. People, when they walk into my place now, they know exactly what my passions are in life. So if you guys are interested, click the link in the description. It lets them know that we sent you.